Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Violent Bostonian Mark Wahlberg. And there's nothing I love more than listening to Rebrand the podcast, except maybe running from my checkered past.
Whoa, okay, pretty big day over here. We got Mark Wahlberg to intro the show. I guess he's a fan. Good to hear from you, Mark. Does anybody know if he's Catholic? I'm just messing around. Of course he is. He mentions it constantly. What's up, Rebrandins? Rebrandies? Rebrandals? Rebranderinos? Jesus, I gotta stop that shit. What's up, you guys? This is a really good episode, I think. We did it with our friend Julie Golden, and it's about divorce, and it's very human and super funny and insightful. So we're psyched to bring it to you. And go join our Patreon if you're so inclined. You immediately get access to our Discord, where people are chopping it up, goofing it off, hamming about, laughing it up, sillying around. Also, when you join the Patreon, you get, in addition to free access to the Discord, unedited episodes, ad-free episodes, video footage episodes, a Q&A that's coming up in the future with Ashley and I, all kinds of great stuff, photos of Cody. I don't know, it's pretty big, you guys. Oh, also, we talk about Julie's show in this episode a lot, which is called The Big D, and the next date for it is on May 31st. This episode came out a little later than I thought it was going to, hence the inaccurate date naming. Okay, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We're still having a blast, y'all. Tell your friends. All of them. Bye.
Rebrand! Ding! Hello, beloved consumers. I'm Ashley Burch.
And I'm Mort Burke.
And welcome to Rebrand, a comedy podcast where we inject new life into tired old brands, whether they be snack food, celebrities, or religious institutions. Wow, that shocked you, that pause.
I thought there was such courage in that pause, honey. Because it shows true confidence to allow silence. And I think we were all like, should we jump in here? Even the people listening probably were like...
They're like, did it pause accidentally? I didn't realize it.
Did she just have the weirdest stroke?
That's my emotional terrorism. That's as far as it goes. It's just slight discomfort.
Allowing them to feel a little weird for half a second?
Just for half a second.
Yeah, I don't think that's terrorism.
No. Emotional tickling.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, I can't wait. We have a wonderful friend of mine, an excellent Los Angeles comedian. We're going to do divorce as a theme for this episode. And I thought of that mostly because our friend Julie Golden, who's here right now, has an excellent show at the West Side Comedy Theater for divorcees primarily. The next one is April 3rd. Go check it out. Welcome, Julie. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome, and it's April 5th.
What's hilarious is I really thought I nailed your intro super hard, and I got the only thing I needed to get right was the date, and I fucking it's on Frapral Slikes.
It's on February 45th. What's the name of your show?
It's called The Big D.
Ah, that's good.
And it's been like hugely successful.
Yes, I don't know people in the audience, and as a comic, you know that's success right there. I'm like, oh my God, there are no comics here.
In Los Angeles, that's a miracle.
That's
a miracle.
Just humans who paid to come here to have an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
So do you only book divorced comedians?
Okay, so when I first started the show, I was like, yeah, everybody will be divorced, divorce, divorce, divorce. And then I don't know why, but it's harder to book divorced male comics than divorced female comics.
Really? I would assume the opposite.
If you have a theory, let me know. But...
Well, I think they're probably toxic. But when you... No, I'm just kidding. I know some divorced male comedians that are fucking great. But when you say harder to book them, what do you mean exactly? Like, just to get them on the calendar or something?
Sorry, yes. So the structure of the show for the unindoctrinated, is that right? Unindoctrinated? Sure. Did I just make that up?
No, that's a word.
That's what you do to people in cults.
I have 3 comics on the panel, and we bring up 3 bachelors and 3 bachelorettes. And we interview them 5 minutes at a time. And then we put them on dates, 5-minute dates on stage with little prompts. So originally I was like, well, obviously the panel of comics needs to be divorced. And my joke was, it's like Willy Wonka. Like everything's edible. Like we're all dateable.
Everything you see here was once married and is no longer.
Yes, I like that. Simply look around and maybe don't touch that. And so, yeah, the first show we did have... I had 3 divorced combination platter. Afternoon. Was this a good idea? Wake up, Julie. Wake up, Julie.
Yeah, you're doing great.
I mean, as a reminder, Moore got the date of your show wrong almost immediately out the gate. So
yeah, this show is
perfectionism
is paralyzing. This show is the opposite.
Show's chaos.
Yeah.
None of the facts are true.
Excellent. I feel right at home. So then it was interesting. I would reach out to male divorced comics. I would ask female divorced comics. I kind of knew them because that was their set. Like everybody that was a female divorced comic, it was very much in their material. And I was like, God, I need more divorced male comics. And I'm not going to mention names, but they would send me to people. And all of them were just like, no, thanks.
Like, we won't do this show specifically, you feel like?
Oh, yeah.
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 Interesting.
Yeah.
They.
That is not
It sounds like they're try to be non-judgmental. It sounds like they're less willing to have that be part of their identity or something.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a theory that came up, which is I wonder if for men it's failure, for women it's freedom.
Oh shit! That feels like the tagline for your show. You just rebranded the big D.
Wow. Well, that would be good if I wanted to make it a girls' night out. But yes.
Possibly?
Which is unfortunate.
Well,
I'm actually kind of surprised. I don't know, because to me it almost feels like culturally divorce for women, because women tend to get the short end of the stick culturally, I'm surprised that it's not. I guess probably the women are more likely to do the work to grow to understand that it wasn't failure.
I have my silence right now is I have so many dangerous thoughts running through my head. But there's no separation. As I tell the men that I hit on all the dating apps when I recruit them for the show, they don't like that. We'll get into that. Casting. I am my own casting couch.
It doesn't sound as sexy as
it's not, because there actually is no.
There's no couch.
There's no
very
couch.
little casting.
There's just an app, and I say, congratulations, you have been picked as a possible bachelor for the big D. Hey, what's the big idea? That's what I get. I get, what's the big idea?
I can see why they're not on the apps to be recruited for a
Okay,
stand-up
this is
show.
so interesting because I want to talk about this. Ashley, you were right. I think mostly.
Okay.
I think that's profoundly insightful.
Well, it's
The
interesting.
Failure
Versus freedom.
Yeah.
I think obviously it doesn't cleanly go along gender lines. Like I have a friend that's getting divorced right now who's a man who it is absolutely freedom for him.
Correct.
But I do wonder if the narrative has changed and it's not like this woman is soiled. It's this
Right.
woman has sloughed off the chains versus the man couldn't keep the woman, maybe, is the vibe.
Wow, maybe so.
I think a lot of it depends on who's zooming who. You know, who left whom.
That's all like internalized. Like if you find out somebody is divorced, if you very rarely are like, okay, so who left who? That's like an incredible like
Yeah, I never have that
interrogation
thought.
question.
Yeah.
That's usually my first question.
Yeah, yeah. You ask it in your head.
Whose fault was it?
No, I'll tell you what, that's usually my first question. I don't ask it that way. It's important to me to hear how people talk about their exes.
Right.
As far as how they're going to be on the show, you don't want to get some lunatic on the show. Because they're going to have the potential to be, you're setting them up to have a date with someone, right?
Yes, and I just want people who have like done the work and are,
right.
I don't want to say good, that's too binary. Even when I'm dating, I listen to how they're talking. What picture do they paint of the person that they shared a life with, regardless of what went down?
Totally.
Particularly if they have kids. And if I hear them pointing a lot of fingers,
Right.
that is a big red flag for me, you know? If I hear like kind of equal culpability and hey, that's the mother or father of my child, you know, that's kind of what I look for. So
It's kind of great because you almost have a way to figure out whether this person is capable of doing self-reflective internal work, basically.
1,000%.
Yeah. Which that's a hard thing to figure out about somebody.
Right. Unless they're divorced.
Yeah, unless they're way divorced.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's like an instant psychological sampling of somebody.
Yeah.
You know?
So like, because you talk about sort of dating a little bit later on in life, and it's like, it is interesting to me how experientially you've got more knowledge. You're just like, okay, no, nope.
Yeah.
You know, whereas when you're 23, you're like, this person's kind of mean. I bet I could change that. Let's stay together forever.
Right. So this is an interesting, because I think some people will say dating later is hard because you're just getting there's just like a bunch of broken men that you're having to sift through.
And broken people and like people who haven't done any kind of work. And,
But to your point, maybe that's not necessarily true. Maybe it's...
well, you at least, as you're a little older, have a greater ability to identify that, hopefully. If you've done your own work, probably.
Yes. No, and I it's so interesting because as a comic, my very first set, the whole premise was like, I'm gonna sound like Rodney Dangerfield, but it's rough out there. It's rough out there.
You did have a time. We're doing big bug eyes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. Just I even hate this line now, because newsflash, nobody's throwing great husbands back into the water. Now that line kills, but not so much at the Big D show,
Right?
Because half of the men in there are like, "Hey,
Yeah,
not you guys."
Yeah,
I've honestly I've reshuffled that. I don't even. I mean, I always go on quickly to say. It's the island of misfit toys, and no shade to the island. I'm on it too, and I talk about my issues. So I think we're all a little limpy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the interesting thing to me is that I think everyone alive, divorced or not, is a little limpy.
Yes.
It's just that this has like a more kind of officially designated identifier or something.
I'm curious, because I do this sometimes, what the Wikipedia entry is for the topic that we're trying to rebrand. And I'm curious what Wikipedia is going to say about divorce. Okay, this seems pretty clinical. Divorce is the process of terminating a marriage or marital union. It usually entails the canceling or reorganizing of the legal duties and responsibilities of marriage, thus dissolving the bonds of matrimony under the rule of law or the particular country or state. It is the legal process of ending a marriage.
Even the language is so severe.
It's
Terminating.
so severe, yeah.
Well, it's
laws of
marriage
matrimony.
is, of course, an antiquated business arrangement, so it is it's a business deal that you what is it called? The company with the assets, you not dilute them,
Dissolve
the assets,
right?
And
Yeah, real romantic.
it's real romantic. But it's so interesting. Even hearing the word divorce, I just got sad. So there is a very specific grief that brings us all together at the show. No matter how you got there, we all share this loss. It doesn't matter if you left or were the one who was left. It's a death. And it's so disappointing. And this is a universal truth I find with everybody that I talk to. And the first thing I always say to people when I meet them or talk to them on the phone, I say, I'm so sorry for your loss. And they get it, unless you get somebody right out out of the marriage. I always picture the Blues Brothers, getting out of the prison. But you have a delusional kind of manic high sometimes when you get out of a marriage. They're like, no, it's great. I'm like, okay. And I just keep an eye on them. And there's usually a 4 to 6 month free fall moment where okay.
In recovery, we call that the pink cloud.
Oh,
right.
That first
Sometimes
part.
when you quit stuff.
Right.
And I also call it sometimes the grace of a higher power sometimes or whatever. It's all of a sudden you have this experience of oh my God, I don't have to do this nightmare thing anymore.
Right.
But then later often the reasons behind the abuse come up and then you have to deal with the actual emotional ramifications.
Yeah.
No one likes to do.
No!
My goodness.
No.
Internal work, PU for the boys.
It hurts.
Final destination. You cannot outrun the pain of divorce. It will find you.
Totally. Yeah, you can shove it down and that just turns you into a sick weirdo.
Yeah. No, it's there's no way through but through. I'm gonna have so many cliches in this whole interview. I had this thought about why divorce hurts so much recently. Okay, so we come out of the womb and we individuate and then we're kind of lonely and scared because we miss our womb, we miss our family, and then we go and create a new family because we're trying to get back into a womb-like situation. And if you blow that shit up, you're reborn again and you're lonely and scared again and you're free falling. Which it kind of reminds me when my parents dropped me off at college. I had a total panic attack and I didn't want them to leave. It was so crazy. I showed up at their hotel room that night. I'm like, you can't go. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, no.
You live in the dorm with me.
Yeah. And, we didn't get along. And I was like, don't leave.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. 18 is such a baby now. I really see that when I look at 18-year-olds. But I like what you're saying. It's you're re-experiencing the abandonment and trauma of being born in a way. Yeah. Totally. Of oh, fuck, I got to do all this on my own now.
It's scary.
I thought I had a partner forever. Yeah, totally.
Even a partner you probably shouldn't be with. It's just, I don't know.
There's a loss, even
loss.
Even if it's the correct choice, even if it's better in the long run, there is an initial loss.
Somebody said this thing one time of once you decide you really don't trust someone, there's horror movie music playing behind them when they talk. And there's a version of that when you decide oh no, I have to break up with this person. And it's a full oh, I thought I could believe in this thing and now I can't.
It's so funny when you said horror music. This is how much of a nerd I am. I translated it to boss music in my head. And then I
Video
say
for video games?
Video game boss music.
Yeah.
What does that sound like? I mean, I should know with my 15-year-old son, but
Well,
what does that sound like?
I have an antiquated version of it, which is the Final Fantasy battle music, which is like.
Yeah. It increases in tempo
feel
and
that.
drama. Yeah,
my son's
totally.
yelling at me. You're doing it wrong, Mom. We're all dying.
But it is that the divorce is the big boss of marriage, where you're like, dun, 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 gotta go to the lawyer, dun, 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 express yourself and set boundaries. It's fucked.
It's horrible. The other reason I started this show is I wanted to be a non-judgmental place to accept all these wounded soldiers and take the shame and disappointment out of it, because you do feel like you failed.
Yeah.
And we all want what you guys have, we all want to feel like we did it right. So originally, I was only going to have divorced bachelors and bachelorettes as participants on the show. And then I met a lot of people like, well, I've had a lifelong partner and that was just as devastating. We just never legally got together. I said, oh, yeah, fine. So those people are now in the fold. And then I've also met not women, but men who have never been married. And I kind of put them in there because, and it's funny, a woman I know recently was just like, I can't trust a man who's never been married or had kids. It shows that they have no ability to commit to anything. I said, I don't think that's fair. Like, not everybody gets to meet their person. And so I don't think we should judge these people. And I've met really lovely people who've never been married. And so I want to create a safe place where there's not one right way to live.
Yeah. And can I tell you, I think that's why the show's done so well, is because you've come in with this, like, really, in my mind, really high level intention of, like, as a community.
Yeah.
Resolve some of this deep unspoken trauma, and like doing that in a group through comedy to me is like, that's new level that people don't do that, and that's really powerful and cool. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And especially like an unseen aspect of society, like a pain that exists that people don't talk about. You know, very much.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a neglected demo, basically. There are lots of fun dating shows for the kids in town, but there's not really any skin in the game. Like, the fact they even choose to come to the show is showing like a big choice in their life. Because by entering this show, by the way, there's a single mingle at the beginning, and I need to change how I say that, single mingle. But from 5 to 5:30, you come in, and if you're single, I say, are you single?
I got a pitch for that.
Yes.
It should be the Pringles and Shingles Single Mingle, which is sponsored by Pringles and some sort of roofing company and their shingles.
Oh, I thought we were going to give shingles vaccines because of the people's ages. And then a potato chip.
I say a can of potato. I think you should get a sponsorship. That's
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, that's great though. It's like a one-stop shop. You can maybe get a date and also get a vaccination you might need.
Exactly.
Side note, I had shingles one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when I was fucking 35. You're not supposed to get it until you're in your
No.
70s. I went to the doctor. They were like, this is stress. I was like, oh, Jesus. It's
I heard it's so painful.
excruciating. I had singular. I had one shingle.
Oh.
And
I didn't know that was possible to have a shingle.
I'm an anomaly. I'm a fucking scientific medical anomaly. And it felt like a tiny little bullet hole.
Wow.
It fucking hurt bad.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Get your vaccines, kids.
So I was like so worried I affected I had the immune system of a 90-year-old, which is why I recommend meditation and whatever it is that calms you down. Try to do that shit so you don't get shingles.
No,
Shingle.
Or shingle.
Shingle, yeah.
Yes. If you have a shingle, call your doctor. So people come in the beginning, and it's funny, the women walk in, they're like so excited to be there, and then the men kind of walk in, and they look like, have I made a horrible mistake?
Kind of freaked out and scared, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I say, are you single? And they look at me like, whoa, why? Is somebody going to, grab me out of the audience? I said, no, that is not the vibe here at all. I've precast most of the people, and I have a bucket here if you want to put your name in case we do like a random poll.
If you want to come on stage.
If you want to come on stage. But really I'm saying, are you single? Because I put a lei on them. No sexual innuendo there. It was the cheapest thing at Party C, honestly. These cheap ass, like they're gross, honestly. I'm going to be honest. I really need to scale up on the leis. And so I put the leis on them just to signify, like if you guys came to the show, you wouldn't get laid. No, you would not get Lay's. Let's please.
Sponsorship pitch. You get Lay's potato chips to sponsor the
thank
Lay's.
you. Okay, I like it.
I'm really about potato
Oh, right.
chips right now.
This is the whole point of your show. Duh. Oh my God.
No, nothing's going wrong.
No, I love that though.
Yeah.
So nobody people wouldn't see Ashley and be like, oh my God, she's so gorgeous, I'm going to hit on her and be embarrassed. Well, maybe they would. I don't know. I can't control people's actions.
But the lace signifies that they're single, ready to mingle.
They're available. Yes, single, ready to mingle.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know of any success stories at the show of people meeting?
Let's define success.
Okay, sure. Had a date outside of the show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Had a relationship outside of the show?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. It's really cute. Okay, here's what happens. People get there 5 to 5:30. They're tight, you know? It is like a middle school dance again all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then the drinks start happening. Here's a little interesting thing, club owners. If you don't say there's a 2-drink minimum, guess what happens? People just start drinking. I'm just letting you know there's no 2-drink minimum at the show or at West Side Comedy Theater.
That's great, because every comedy theater has a fucking 2-drink minimum. So you show up and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got to spend $50 on drinks right now? Anyway, I love this.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And also, if you don't drink alcohol, now you're spending that much on 2 Cokes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But anyway, so for those who still drink, they start drinking. Some have had too much, and I don't know what to do about that, but we're all adults. And then, so they're a little loose from the alcohol, I will say that. And then the comedy starts, and this is a huge part of it. When I tell people is the comics on the panel, they do sets in between. So worst case scenario, you're getting a good comedy show.
Right.
So there's that. And then, but it's really, I mean, it is the basic format of every reality TV show, I guess, because every month, there's a new group of bachelors and bachelorettes, and it's very exciting to see who gets on stage. Like, you're invested.
Yeah. You're also not doing the modern reality TV thing, which is to throw a bunch of frightening obstacles in the way to fuck people up, right?
Yes. And then the balance on stage is I'm definitely the kind, nurturing one, because I know these people. I've been talking to them before they get there. So I know this is the reality producer part of me. I know what things to bring up to kind of highlight their lovely things about them.
I see.
Funny things. And then the comics on the panel with me don't know anything. So they're the ones that go in for the jokes. And I always talk to them beforehand. I'm like, this is not a roast. You can be funny.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Torrance Hill, I don't know if you know Torrance.
Yes.
Hilarious host. He is kind of like your black gay best friend in every romantic comedy.
Yeah, he's like wildly charismatic, that dude.
Wildly charismatic. Yeah. He's a huge part of the show. And he can say anything. He can say absolutely anything, and the audience laughs, and nobody feels attacked. So it's this magical thing that's working. I'm sure I'm going to get a comic on there one day, and it's not going to work, and I'm going to be like, get out, that's the wrong thing. But so far, it's just been this like safe, hilarious, magical environment.
I feel like you've rebranded Divorce on your own.
Yeah.
Just as like a fun show, a fun jaunt.
This is great because yes, absolutely.
You guys want to get divorced now.
That sounds so fun.
And then 10 years from now, we go to your show and see each other.
We see each other and we
we're
go,
like, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to take it from the sort of micro of the show to the macro of how can we do what you've done with this show for Divorce. And I think we're doing it right now partially, which is talk about the reality of it, because it really is more of a punchline. Like, you know, I think. And as are so many things that are like, and I'm very guilty of this, like hard to deconstruct. If something just seems hard, instead of looking at it, you can fucking make fun. You can make fun of it, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting. The very first show, it was all divorce comics. So everybody did a divorce set. And one of the comments anonymously from one of the attendees was, too much talk about divorce, which I thought was funny because did they read the invitation? But I actually took the note and I thought, yeah. We all live this. We all live this. We don't need... so I come out at the beginning, I do a little bit, and I talk about divorce. And then now I'm at a point where it's like, the comics are just going to get up and just be funny. It's just a release moment,
Yeah.
Because also all the people coming on stage are asked about their divorce. They're asked about what they're looking for,
Totally. Okay, so I have a pitch that involves a question for you, Julie.
Yes.
So let's imagine that there's a Department of Divorce. All of a sudden, everything's being federally funded more than we could ever dream.
Yeah, Doge is going to love this.
It's the opposite of what's currently happening. So you have a budget, right, to make commercials to change people's ideas about what divorce means. And I'll couple this with a question of what do you wish you could have told yourself early on after you got divorced to help you?
I don't know.
Okay, then I'm going to start by pitching the...
Okay, good,
I'm going to
yes.
start by pitching the divorce PSA, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Woman alone crying on the bed.
Great
Okay.
start.
Yes.
Then man alone crying on the bed,
Okay,
right? Then
yes.
it says, then there's a big stamp on the screen. It goes, divorce. Starts out extremely sad.
Yes.
Like, and that's the version of what we all think divorce is,
Yeah,
right?
and it is.
That is that,
Okay,
right?
yes, I think that's why I paused. I'm like, I don't know if I can rebrand divorce.
Okay, so then we see a clock turning, right? And then we see the two people that are on the split screen, and the sun goes up, down, up, down, up,
Yes.
down, up, down. And they're crying the whole time. They're not moving. They're just sitting there sobbing to illustrate, like, hey, it's fucking hard. We
Yeah.
realize that, right?
Yeah.
And then after a while, the sun starts to slow down, and they step outside, and they open the door, and there's sunshine, and there's, like, kids playing. You know what I mean? Somebody's
Yeah.
throwing a Frisbee or whatever. And then a guy goes, get back in the house. And that guy is divorce police, okay? So he's kind of our idea of what we think you should do when you get divorced.
I see. He's like, get back in the house of misery.
Yep.
You
So the person goes back.
whore.
Exactly.
You defied the patriarchy.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
shall pay for this the rest of your life.
Totally, and you man who's not man
He's a
enough
Nazi.
to...
Can we just make him a Nazi?
Yeah, just make him a
okay.
Nazi, sure, yeah, totally, he's the divorce Nazi.
Yeah, the divorce Nazi.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so then they go back in, and the sun thing happens again, and they get sadder and sadder and sadder, and then they both, at the same time, walk out of their door, and they go see a movie, and they run into each other, and they go on a date, and then they realize, you're not for me, and they go on another date, and then they go on a roller coaster ride. You know what I mean? Like,
I do. I have some really important information I think is going to help our rebranding concept.
that's why you're here.
I love this. Okay, so this is fascinating for me. I think the biggest takeaway I have, it's usually the women I meet. Every time I meet a potential bachelorette, they say, look, I just got to be honest. I don't even know if I want to get married again. Like, I'm happy. This is what everybody in that room has in common, is they're content being alone. And alone sounds bad. I can't, and I think that's maybe what we're getting at. It's like, the married life is not the only life.
Right.
I think that's what it is. And to
Yeah,
not
right.
look at divorce as failure so much as I had that experience, I have this beautiful child from it, and now I'm living this other life that is equally viable, that is equally valuable. And I think that's why everybody likes that show. I just realized everybody in there feels like it's not this race to the second marriage finish, you know?
Right. Yes. Yeah, I'm sure that's a huge part of I think that's a huge part of the like narrative around marriage and divorce as well, is that it's just sort of this assumption that that's what everyone wants.
Yep.
Right, and then everything dies as soon as you're not married again.
Yeah, which is funny because when I was never a person that's like, I need to get married, you know? And I don't think you were either.
Nope.
And we were pretty scared of it for a long time because of the fact that it is meant to be a lifelong commitment. But it just became a thing that we both wanted to do, but not a thing that we felt obligated to do. And I feel like that's such a big difference.
Yes.
1,000%.
And I will say, too, also, we still do, both of us, live with the fear of, like, oh, this person might leave me one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, that shit doesn't go away either, right?
Right.
You know? Which
Yeah.
I think is important, that it's like, no matter who you are, you kind of have this fear, which is what you're talking about. And also, I think there's something about, like, let's say you were in a relationship that wasn't working, you step out of it. It is, like, a really empowering thing, but that's really, it's also challenging to learn to re-empower yourself. You know,
Very.
and those challenges are good. I think they make you stronger. It's like weights on a weight
Yes.
bench, you know?
Yeah, and one of the things that happens when you get divorced, particularly if you have kids, is there's a really tricky transition where all these people that were your quote-unquote friends, and I'm not saying they're bad, it's just you outgrow that life really quickly because you're no longer part of this paradigm, right? And you're kind of in this in-between place that feels like you're in between islands, you know, like you're not on the island, the next island chapter of your life. But I think what people are starting to feel at this show is there's no islands. Like
Right.
this is the island right here, right now. And I guess what I'm saying is you feel like you're in the minority and you're not. And then you come to the show and you realize, oh, I'm not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. It's not like a transition between relationships.
Right.
It's not a transitory state of being. It's just
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just life.
Yes. You're not in a liminal space where you can't accomplish anything. And then they show up and they see other people who also thought they were in the liminal space and are like, no, you're alive. That means I'm probably alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's perhaps, my theory is, I don't know, but only from that place can we really find healthy relationships again, right? Because...
For sure. I thought, like, of course women are going to save me. They fucking, they smell good. They look like angels. And this is a very obviously ignorant young man's idea of what a relationship is. But I think a lot of people fall into that. So then at that point, you're not looking at the relationship objectively because it's like, there's an aspect of just the relationship itself that is incentivizing you to do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's like overly complicated for a simple thing. But it's not you want to marry this person, you just want to get married. So that leads you to being more likely to marry the wrong person.
Correct.
Right.
And that need versus want thing, I think, is huge that you were talking about. And so my whole act now has changed from, it's rough out there, am I right? To, it's just puzzling. I'm not sure what I want from a relationship. I'm not sure what it brings to the table. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I am redefining what my life looks like because I have this incredible community of friends and I have my kid, a sense of community, which is really all we need. But I think this is why there are all these best friend communities, you know, that Dana was talking about popping up, this idea of...
For sure, dude. Recovery, fucking our stand-up community. Like, I did improv for a long time. I think so much of that was this really deep part of myself that knew I needed to be surrounded by people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the community is the baseline. So it's not like... I think divorce, people see divorce as a synonym for alone.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just not... That's not what it is. It's just...
Well, it can be, and it can feel very lonely.
Right.
And I think that's why this show has become this, like, I don't know, kind of lovely landing pad for a moment, at least. You know?
Yeah. And there's a difference between solitude and isolation, right? And you can isolate in a relationship too. You can be married and it can be completely fucking isolated.
Yes.
So, or you can be single before you're married and you could be, it's all, especially in weird, like LA is a place where it's hard to learn the balance between like seeing people and having alone time that is good for you.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like everybody who comes to the show, the profile of them so far, I mean, it's still a really young show. We've only done 4 or 5. So I don't even know if the people coming now are going to be the people that come in. I don't know. It's interesting. It's this like rapidly growing big baby.
Yeah. Big fat divorce baby. Pretty adorable.
Yes. Yeah.
Me want therapy. Wah. I'm just trying to think of what
We should have gotten a prenup.
And then suddenly it individuates as a teenager and it's like, wait a minute, nobody's trying to dim my light and tell me what to do. This is awesome. So yeah, I think everybody that walks through that door is feeling relatively content and not anxious or claiming. It's almost like agnosticism versus atheism.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's like, we're not sure. We don't know, but we don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally. Yeah, you at least have to be open to the possibility. Like, anybody who comes to the show has reached a certain level where they're willing to try.
For sure.
Yeah.
But nobody's like, I got to get married again right now. You know, not one person. And yeah, there was this...
I just had an idea for a rebrand.
Yeah.
How come we're not doing fucking platonic marriages? Because I feel like so much of what people want is like, I want the dress, or I want to stand there in a tux with my bros and look cool, or for the woman, I want to look beautiful and be celebrated and have the idea of love be celebrated. Like, if you got the money to do that and don't involve the lifelong handcuffs.
Interesting. Yeah, actually, I have a coworker who is having a 10-year anniversary wedding-themed party.
Fuck
so
yeah.
it's not a wedding, but she is going to be... Actually, I don't know if she's going to be wearing a wedding dress, but she's encouraging all of the female-presenting attendees to wear wedding dresses if they want.
Hilarious.
Like she's marrying herself?
No, she has a partner.
Okay.
And they've been together for 10 years, but she doesn't want to ever get married.
Ah.
And so it's a wedding-themed anniversue party, but
And
it's
this
not
is
a wedding.
this is a comedy writer, right?
Yes.
Because that's such a funny idea.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she basically they're while we were working together, she was like looking for venues like it was a wedding and like all this kind of stuff, which is really funny. But it's just going to be a big party.
Yeah. That's like the way to win is have fun. We always had, this is not the same thing, but we had this idea of like throwing a party for Ash because we never really had a celebration. We basically eloped.
We did elope.
Yeah, we eloped, and so we never had like a major marriage or whatever. But I always thought it'd be funny to have like just like a Saturday party with like put out snacks, but then Ashley comes down in a wedding dress, and I come down in a full tuxedo. We
Those
just
are
make
the
everybody
best.
hang out with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're dressed in casual clothes.
Yeah,
right.
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel weird in this fucking t-shirt.
No, I please invite me to that. That sounds
Yeah.
lovely. Will there be past hors d'oeuvres though? Because I do like that at a wedding. Just
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I mean,
funny
I'll take
too.
Trader Joe's. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
We get
there's something about the little tray that comes around. It's not enough to fill you up, and you have to pretend not that you don't want to eat them all. you
Yeah,
know?
with the fancy servers and
Yeah.
stuff, and they're very respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's stuff about weddings that we just love that we associate with forever loving someone, but are really just I just want the fucking hors d'oeuvres.
Just want the hors d'oeuvres.
Right?
Yeah.
When you said platonic wedding, or yeah, that's what you said, right? Platonic wedding. I thought that you were saying that like best friends getting married or something.
Also that.
Yeah. Which is
Or
cute.
totally. Or fucking and this is great because it really flies in the face of this idea of like lonely cat women is like, what if you married your cat? What if it was
Ah, hell yeah.
a woman in a full, like an expensive wedding dress? Like I'm talking high-end Vanity Fair, the cover of Vogue. You know what I mean?
and a cat with a little bow tie.
yeah, and he's sort of confused or whatever. And it's you pay a lot for the venue.
It's amazing.
You get David LaChapelle to do the photography. You know what I mean? Like here's a Catwoman, motherfucker.
I hate to be a wet blanket about this concept though about the platonic wedding.
No, go right ahead.
Okay. You gotta want to fuck your partner.
You're talking this. You need the sex.
You gotta want to fuck them.
We're talking sexual healing. For you, that's part of the wedding. Because for me, weddings almost feel asexual in a way. Their family is there, the
Wait,
cousins are
you're talking
there.
about wedding, not the marriage, not the relationship.
Yeah, I'm talking really more about just
the party.
Because I think people really, really, really want the party. That's why they get so crazy about the fucking party. And yes, a huge aspect of that is attached to the idea of this will work forever. But we're out here trying to take it one day at a fucking time. I don't know. I don't know. I could have that thing that Phineas Gage had where a spike went through his head and all of a sudden he became a jerk.
What?
Who's that?
That's like this early medical phenomenon thing where this guy got a railroad spike through his head and everyone was like, he was so kind. And then some aspect of his brain was affected and he became kind of a jerk. I think also maybe he was just mad because he had a spike through his head.
It might have had something to do with it. Just a little cranky.
But
You
I'm just-
okay? No, I have a spike in my head.
Yeah, have you fucking
motherfucker.
looked at my skull? I'm just saying, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to
Yes.
happen. And that's like, there's faith around that, which is cool.
He had a large iron rod driven completely through his head. All the way through his head.
Yup.
Destroying much of his brain's left frontal lobe. Through his head and he lived?
Phineas Gage, man.
Wow.
Phineas Gage.
Yeah.
What year did this all go down?
Old as
He
hell.
was born in 1823, died in 1860. Is that him? He's posing with the gauge.
Wow.
And his eye is all fucked up and
Wow.
sewn shut.
So
And
they-
his
they
name
got
is-
it out?
And his name is Gage. Isn't that wild? It's like
Yeah.
if his last name was Spike in the head.
Yeah, what the hell? That's crazy.
I'm surprised. I heard about that like in high school and have been forever fascinated by it. Is it possible to do a... Now, this would take two people very much on board. We've been dating for a year. We want to get a what would you call this? Non-committal wedding ceremony. We want to fuck each other. We're having fun. There's romance in our life. We want to do the celebration and not involve the federal government and not commit to being together forever.
Well, it's kind of like what my friend's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, they're asexual people, right? So not everyone wants to fuck their partner.
Oh, if two asexual people get together, fantastic.
Right.
But if one person wants the other and the other does not, that is a recipe for major heartbreak.
For
So-
sure. Well, but here's the other thing, too, and I agree with you in a lot of ways, but then also in marriage, there are plenty of times where you don't want to fuck your partner. That's the hard thing. The hard thing about marriage is like there are times where you have to, and this is very different than having married the wrong person. And that's why it's like, but it's a challenging thing no matter who you are, right?
Absolutely. Mating captivity.
Esther Perel.
Esther Perel. No, I 100%. I mean, once you lose the tautness and the tabooness, you have to kind of gin up sexual tension. You have to. It's not like the spirit's just going to move you. But in that moment, when you do finally commit to the act, you like that? That's my sound effect. There needs to, in my opinion, you need to be returning to a place of attraction and connection. I mean, look, at the end of the day, sex is just the most intimate exchange of feelings. So if you feel intimately connected to somebody, the sex and the intimacy, it's all one orb of
One horny ass orb.
one horny ass orb. So I would say, particularly now for all these people coming to the show, I mean, nobody's going to end up in a situation where they don't want to, have sex with the other person. That's not going to happen.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you?
Everybody at this
You're
point,
saying they're not going to get married again to somebody they don't want to hook up with?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And maybe, Woody Allen minus the pedophilia had it right. 2 different apartments, and you just come together. I think I lost everyone.
You said minus the pedophilia.
Minus the pedophilia, but
the caveat.
Yeah. I do think it'd be funny if I somehow forgotten that you were my only pro Woody Allen friend. I was like, should have mentioned not to bring him up during the podcast.
She's so great, but she keeps being like, he did nothing wrong.
Yeah,
He did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong. I mean, Harvey Weinstein made great movies. So I truly don't know. I just know that I think a very common complaint for divorced singles is she didn't want to have sex with me anymore. I wasn't attracted to her anymore. There was that Chris Rock movie, which was not great. It was a remake of a French movie. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah. What was it, top 5?
The movie?
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was like Chloe. I don't know what the...
Because he did... Okay, I'm thinking of a different movie. Yeah. Uh-huh.
But it's like he almost cheats on his wife with Kerry Washington, and then he decides to recommit to his wife, and they have couples therapy. And it's not a very good movie, but there's one scene where they're in couples therapy, and they're like, we've been doing all the exercises. It's been great. She's like, great. Are you having sex? And they just look really uncomfortable. And no, but it's fine. It's fine, And then you just cut to the therapist looking... So yeah, I think sex is tricky when you're married, but I think there probably needs to be a baseline attractive connectivity to return to.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely does.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I'm just wondering about what do you do when everybody's 80 and you're all unfuckable, which is not true.
But you've heard about all the STDs in the old people's homes.
That's true. Those people
going nuts.
Yeah, they're hooking up. Yeah, totally.
Because again, they don't I'm not looking to spawn with you. I don't need your money. We're all. It's like universal basic income. We're all here. We're all getting the same tuna casserole.
Yeah.
What's up, Fred? And then they just go to town.
Yeah.
And of course, all the men are on Viagra, and I don't know.
They're doing their best.
The women, I don't know why the 80-year-old women are so horny, but maybe that is our basic resting state is horny.
Well, I mean, it's
when all the shit is gone. You know what I mean?
Well, our entire society is built around the sex drive.
Yeah.
It really is. I do kind of believe in this idea that, your sexual energy is a creative energy. You can't be having sex all the time, so it gets, we better make some buildings. We better create cable television.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
As a menopausal woman, everybody just stopped listening to your podcast.
You don't think it was the Woody Allen thing? You think it was...
I think that got you more people on the podcast. No, but it's really interesting when your hormones change and you don't have, as I call it, the compulsion to completion, the stupidity that gets you into making really bad decisions, right? But that keeps the population. So it's interesting because I feel like I have that cool down period now. Like when you buy a car, is that still a thing in California? Do we know? You buy a car and then 24 hours later you can be like, whoa, I don't know what I was thinking. There's a name for it.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know, but I did that once. They gave me the money back. We didn't call it a cool down period, but right away I was like, I don't want this Kia Soul.
Right. But I feel like you get this slowed down period when you're older and your hormones aren't as crazy where you go, meh. Okay. But what I'm saying is if you get down to it, it's still fun. It's just the compulsion to...
The porking.
The porking. Yes. But the energy to get there, that's what I'm curious about. Well, I guess, no, it makes sense. All the old... Okay, this is it. I just figured it out. Because they're all in a dorm. So it's 2 feet over. And they're just going... There's no energy. You don't have to put that much energy into it. It's I'll walk 1 bedroom over.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
See what Gladys is doing.
Exactly. Totally. Yeah. Bethany's already seen me in my robe at the pool. We're already halfway there. Can you agree with me that the possibility that doing this wedding would in some way satisfy an aspect of the urge? that could maybe prevent you from getting into a bad marriage and still celebrate what your love is?
I want to help you finish this podcast.
Yeah, otherwise you live here, Julie. So
I'm just telling you that I have like PTSD when I hear the word wedding and marriage.
interesting. That makes sense.
How do you feel about a divorce party?
Oh, I love that. Sean Polofsky, who was our first comic, is starting to produce divorce parties for people.
So maybe that's what it is. It's like you start in a wedding gown and then you rip it to shreds and you burn it in front of all your friends and your friends go, yay! Or you throw your ring into magma like the end of Lord of the Rings, throwing the one ring into the fires of Mount Doom.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. Just some sort of destruction of what was and a celebration of what's to become. And
Totally. And the beautiful thing about this show, Rebrand, which you're on currently, is that we have the entire spectrum of our imagination to use. So I'm going to say for the divorce party, all of a sudden you get a whole different kind of tax cut. It's actually financially advantageous, right?
To get divorced.
Yeah, so I think that's a huge part of it. Also, I'm going to posit this. For regular weddings, we also add an addendum to all of the priests' lines, which are, or if not, that's chill. Till death do us part, or also 6 months from now would be fucking fine.
Yes. How about, is there any like, was it seismatic? Every new beginning comes from some other beginnings.
Sure, yeah.
Can we do a version of that where it's like, this sucks, but guess what? Ba-bum, boom. Hey, it's opening up possibilities for future experiences.
Yes, totally.
Right.
And where do you want that? Do you want that during the party? Where do you want that?
Well, let's go back to the Nazis. People are crying.
Oh, the commercial.
The commercial.
The PSA commercial.
The Nazi. They come out, they're like, seismatic is playing and they're trying to dance and the Nazi comes out like Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I want to figure out what that song is. Because
Closing time.
Closing time.
Closing time.
Yeah. One more call for alcohol. But you can't stay here.
Oh, semisonic.
Semisonic, not seismatic. Yeah. That's so funny. You can't stay here. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Oh my God, I got chills.
Right.
That's what it is.
Well, that's because that song also like works as a metaphor.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is like
this bar is closed. This chapter is closed.
Yep.
You don't have to go home,
Yep.
but you can't stay here.
You got an unhappy bouncer pushing you out of your marriage.
Yes.
Onto the street.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're dying, but the reality is there's
Some
actually
other beginnings.
there's a whole new world opening up of
Yes.
experiences that
Yes.
you were not able to participate in, which is why you're getting out of this relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's limiting as opposed to empowering.
Right.
Yep. And I think we're going to show this commercial 4 times an hour for a year straight on every single station. Right? To help our divorced friends.
Yes.
All of a sudden, it's going to become kind of cool to get divorced.
I'm a little...
See, now, I'm not selling divorce. I just want to be clear.
I am.
Honey, should we get divorced?
I kind of want to now.
I think it's just about the light at the end of the tunnel and telling people I'm about 9 years out myself. And I remember my best friend did this for me because that first year I kept calling, just stop. You have never cried as much as it's like, psh, and I would just call her all the time and say, am I going to be okay? And she'd say, yes. It's just about somebody further on the journey telling you it's going to be okay.
And that's why community is so important.
Yep.
And that's what you are in the show. And
Yes.
hopefully that's what this podcast is doing too. If
Yes.
anybody looks up divorce and gets this one and listens to it, that's what we want them to feel. Yeah.
Yeah. Are the people that are listening to this that are getting a divorce, are they going to be okay?
Yes. Sorry. Here's the thing.
That's the biggest softball I've ever seen.
Yes. No. If you are going through a divorce, it is horrible. And here's the thing. Both things can be true. Just because it hurts doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because it hurts now doesn't mean it won't, be okay later. So don't judge the pain that you're experiencing as a sign that you made a mistake. Don't judge the pain that you're experiencing as it'll never feel good again. It is just hard and you're not alone.
That was nice.
That's beautiful. Could have been funnier, but I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Here, I'll give you one funny thing. I just want to be clear. I am not like encouraging divorce. A lot of my friends saw me when I first got out, and they're like, wow, I want what she's having, because it's, what is it? The pink cloud that you said?
Pink cloud,
The
yeah.
high, it was like letting to Disneyland an hour before the park opens. It's very fun.
Yeah.
And then you crash. But anyway, I have all these like married friends who are in that like Esther Perel part of their relationship. And they're like, I think maybe I should get a divorce. I'm like, no. Slow your roll. Just go take a pottery class. So there's that too.
Make a dick-shaped pottery
Go make a dick-shaped pottery.
Yeah.
And then see how you feel.
to satisfy your sexual urges, and then see how you feel.
By the way, I was like 14 when I went into a pottery. I acted like I was 14 at the pottery class. How do you not laugh every time?
Yeah, because it always looks like a dildo.
It always looks like a dick.
It's always a dick.
And it's like all wet and clammy.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's
And they
real
have to
sensual
keep going
and weird.
up and down and up and down.
It's just a room full of people making huge gray dicks.
And the teachers get very irritated if you're like, we know!
You're like, stop making it so lifelike.
Can't you make a vulva shape?
Yeah, where are the giant vagina pottery?
They're
Yeah.
too complicated to
This
make.
is your fault, teacher.
It's true.
You should know. You should
Yeah.
know better.
Yeah.
You should have chosen a different art form.
I went into ChatGPT and I said, give me male divorced jokes. And it just gave me the worst things that you could possibly imagine.
I mean, I can do it now.
Oh, yeah.
Which is heartening, right? This idea that like AI is going to take over jokes. Or
Yeah.
It's like, it's the one thing it can't do, I think, actually. Is,
Yeah, no, nothing in there
is
was worth
nuanced
stealing.
art.
Yeah, there was nothing in there. I'm like, I'll never tell anyone.
Yeah. It didn't give you a perfect like Mitch Hedberg joke or something.
No.
Sure, here are some funny divorced male jokes for you. Why did the divorced guy bring a ladder to the bar?
Why?
Because he heard the drinks were on the house and his ex took the rest.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's
Yeah.
all the shrewy my wife took the money.
Yep.
I like it because AI is really illustrating like what is hack, which is cool. You know?
My ex-wife still misses me, but her aim is getting better.
You know what's sad about that one? I feel like I've heard different iterations of that in actual comedy clubs.
It'd be funny if the guy telling that joke was ultimately murdered by his ex-wife, and that he wasn't joking. He was.
It's a cry for help.
Please,
Yeah.
please, someone.
Do you want more? Do you have a specific vibe you're going for?
Oh, then I usually put bitter divorced man.
I mean, these are already pretty bitter, but let's see what happens. Marriage is like a walk in the park. Jurassic Park.
Yeah! Frame.
This one's just weird and dark. Why do divorced men make great horror movie villains? Because they've already lost everything, so they've got nothing left to fear? That's not a joke. That's just a harrowing sentence.
Julie, where can people find you on the socials medias?
I am at Julie Golden Girl, and the big D is me. I am the big D. There's no separation. There's no separate page for it. I was told by a 10-year-old social media expert that I should just become one with the big D. Heyo. So yeah, you could find me at Julie Golden Girl.
Heck yeah, follow Julie and go see her shows.
Where can they find us?
You can find us at Rebrand the Pod on Instagram. Also, we have a Patreon. Go check it out. It's tons of fun. When you join the Patreon, you immediately get access to the Discord where you can go talk all things Rebrand. You can give us suggestions for the episodes. At some point, we're going to do a Q&A. We have like unreleased footage in there. There's video footage of us. I might put up some stand-up of mine, stuff like that. So go join the Patreon.
We should probably put up pictures of Cody at some point.
Yeah, I'm trying to exploit our dog son.
Great. He's so handsome. We got to use it for something.
I'm afraid he's going to become a bigger star than I am. Do you think I should refer to myself as a star more?
Yeah.
Yes, megastar.
Do we need to say anything else?
Just that we love you guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We really appreciate your support of the show. We're happy to do it for you.
Mwah.
Kisses. Thank you, Julie, for being here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Rebrand.